Hello everyone. Today I wish to read to you and discuss an article I wrote in 1996 for Temple Doors, and it is called Sage Cats of the Ancient Past. If you're a cat person, and maybe even if you're not, I think you're going to enjoy this. The young woman sat very still on the polished stone floor of the temple chamber. She closed her eyes and began the now familiar ritual of placing herself in a semi-trance state and summoning the Rutami to mind-link with her. After a few moments, she opened her eyes once again and saw the Rutami come forth from the depths of the temple, their forms gracefully surrendering to light and shadow as they glided toward her in padded silence. Alana smiled her best cat smile, and the creatures returned the gesture. In Kupa Atlantean, Rutami means cat people. The cat people looked not much different from our current domestic breeds, but their psychic powers were far more developed. Atlantis' holy isle of Ruta, containing the temple in which Alana now sat, was named after the Rutami. For centuries before the Hyperboreans came to Atlantis, it had been maintained solely for the raising and breeding of temple cats. The larger cats, such as lions, tigers, and leopards, were called the Rutasi. They, too, were sometimes included in temple work, but it is the smaller Rutami that this article addresses. Alana was a true Rutan priestess, with mixed Hyperborean Atlantean blood, as was characteristic of the Rutan people. Now you will recall in my writings, and recently I've been making video on it, that Ruta was the Isle of Atlantis that actually ascended when Atlantis sank. And it ascended through the Bora, the hole, the tear, and it sits, energetically speaking, on the lip of the Eye of Ra, or the universal tear. And so there's a great history for Ruta and a connection to our current world now and what the Rutans are doing to help us. But we're not going into that now. I just wanted to make sure you knew that this is the same Ruta we're speaking of here. Parsi, a cat with golden eyes and long silver gold fur, was the lead Rutami who always began the mind song with her. The other 6 cats, one by one, joined in. Alana's whole being was filled with the sweet rushing light, sound and light, a nectar bath for her soul. After the completion of the unifying song, the true work began. When the 7 Rutami, she had established a geometric energy pattern through which remote services could be performed, such as biophysical healing, the balancing of earth ley lines, and other more exotic efforts, including magnetic weaving, which was a process of redesigning the magnetic body of humans and animals. And this, of course, for the purpose of healing. It wasn't done for any agenda purpose. It was to help people and to heal. While in a synergic unity of mind with the priest or priestess, the Rutami could open their biofields and expand their light bodies to accept the crystalline waveforms of the planet. The interactive priest or priestess would then direct the modulations of the planetary energy through the cats for the purpose of healing Earth energy nodes, or even creating solid 3D crystal forms for future energy work. For healing work on individuals, the patient would be placed in a central geometric, with the Rutami positioned at key points in that geometric. The cats would be telepathically instructed by the priestess to integrate with the energy field of the patient in the center of the resonating field. Then the priestess would conduct the manipulation of magnetic biocurrents within the patient, as the cats moved their energy systems in and out of the needle's eye within the patient's magnetic field. This technique would redesign the magnetic body of the patient, overriding old patterns of illness or mental emotional blocking. Forgive me while I turn a page. The Rutami and Ratasi of Lemuria and Atlantis were hybrids as a result of genetic breeding. Different strains of them from Rigel and Orion and Sirius and Canis Major were blended with the lesser evolved Earth species to create the sage cats, as they were often called. They lived in age comparable to the humans, with prominent star genetics, which in the time of Atlana was 450 to 500 linear years as an average. One of the most famous Rutami was a short, white-haired, azure-eyed male named Merapis. He lived 352 years, and during his life was the supreme sage cat on Ruta, having been seated by a Sumurdi flame being. Merapis had a following all his own from among the pilgrims to the Two Moons Temple, which was his home. Every morning, after the ringing of the Petaluma, the prayer bell, Merapis would sit in great dignity and bountiful repose upon a royal blue cushion made from the down of the rare buka bird, which was an ancestor of the ostrich. The faithful would file before the aquiline pussycat with offerings of garland, flowers, and sacred tamani beads, asking for his reverential blessing. While such a display may seem a bit misaligned to our current understanding of self-empowerment, it need be viewed as a pattern resonant with many Eastern religions of today, who find within their gurus a path to the sacredness within themselves. Nor were all temple cats revered in such a manner even in the ancient times. Merapis had earned his position through his extraordinary healing powers and highly evolved spiritual presence, which was enhanced by the Sumurdi infusion. The demonstrations of reverence toward this Rutami were gestures of recognition to spirit manifest in the animal kingdom, and perceived Merapis as a host for the divinity within all. Merapis did have a distinct celebrity status, however, and his personality so reflected his unique talents that he was loved by many. And I must say that because Ruta is now in a very highly positioned, shall we say, dimension, these higher beings, both human and animal, even though Merapis technically finally passed away after 352 years of living in that dimension, he's now in the Rutan dimension. He's been called back in to serve. Some of the more extraordinary beings, human and otherwise, that may have fulfilled their life in that lower Rutan vibration are called back to serve in the higher Rutan vibration, because in the ascended Rutan, because that Rutan is serving us as a whole planetary experience. And these souls and soli, as Thoth calls animal souls, are being called back, or are called back to do this work there. And I'm receiving that Merapis is one of those. On the blue star Rigel in Orion, the Kiminoji cats project small orbs of blue fire from their heart centers that resemble the balls of fire seen on Earth during certain atmospheric conditions. The blue fire orbs of the Kiminoji are sent into the heart centers of other living creatures, eliciting a marvelous singing wave of light through the recipient's body that is not only healing, but contains light codes for opening that being's field to a greater interspecies sensitivity and communion. The Kiminoji are an intriguing little cat with lemur-sized eyes, tufted koala-like ears, and a mottled brown to auburn fur. Now, these are the ones on some planet, it wasn't said which one, in Rigel. Another Rigel cat is the Selimina, a sleek blonde-colored feline, somewhat Abyssinian in conformation with large golden-green eyes. These cats were brought to Lemuria, where they thrived for a while until the magnetic pressures of the planet became too great. They were often brought into the home to nurture infants and children, as they have a special affinity with young creatures. Now, the Syrian Ostophira is a most unusual cat being. It can grow as large as a young leopard, is usually white or light tan, with very sleek fox-like features. It is very swift and contains long, graceful claws. None of the Rigel or Syrian cats are meat-eaters, but the long claws of the Ostophira are used to burrow into the ground and to hold to very slender trees in order to eat the tender leaves in the highest branches. The Ostophira is quite versatile and is at home in the water, being able to submerge and hold its breath for 15 to 30 minutes at a time. Seaweed and algae are its prime food source. In the temples of Lemuria and Atlantis, the Koska were often seen at the doorways escorting the prayerful into the holy sanctum. These were similar to present-day Aussie cats with ocelot coloring and spots. Descendants of this same breed still guardian chambers within the labyrinths beneath the sacred structures on the planet. They are maintained by the order of the labyrinth of the inner earth. And also, there are also many cats, of course, within the inner earth domain as well. Just as we have both pure and mixed breeds today, so were the domestic cats of Lemuria and Atlantis. The Sha'Maia-NESIA&NEAF were originally of the wild and known as deer cats, as they were found among or near herds of deer, since they fed on the same type of foliage. There were later domesticated Sha'Maia-NESIA&NEAF and are of blue-silver color with slanting gray eyes, short fur, but a plume-like tail with a white tip and white markings on the feet. They still exist within certain regions of the inner earth. On Ruta, it was not uncommon to see cat priestesses such as Alana walking through the sanctified halls of the temple with 2 or 3 sage cats draped about their shoulders and in their arms. The cat priestesses believed that the power of the feline was a path to Akashic insight and therefore could help them to decipher the codes for the healing of the soul. Often a priestess would wear a pierced earring of a certain design, which would also be displayed in the ears of the temple cats she worked with. Also, the collars of the cats carried symbols identifying their station, for these cats were embodiments of highly evolved devas who from birth had been indoctrinated with degrees of service to the temple. While cats and flowers may not coexist in special harmony today, in the age of the great temples the sage cats enjoyed being surrounded in gardens of floral splendor, for they were often assigned as Devic overlords of plants, especially flowering flora, sending their healing love light into the tender petals. Merapis of the garland offerings was, as it might be assumed, especially fond of flowers. He would go into the gardens and sit for hours gazing at and communing with one particular flower that bloomed every 300 years. When the petals finally closed, Baracus became somewhat forlorn until he was given his own special painting of the plant in full bloom. Of course, Baracus, being a wise one, was not fooled by the picture, but his aesthetic senses seemed to be satisfied. The modern-day domestic cats carry light codes of the ancient Rutami cat people. It is for us, their human companions, to open the gateway of genetic memory in their being and travel back into time with them on the magic carpet of feline dreaming. Now a process is given for feline dreaming with your cat. Lie on your back with your cat on your stomach. That's presuming you can get your cat to sit on your stomach. If you can't, you can. If he's lying down or she already, you can get close to them, lying on your back next to them. Maintain eye contact with your cat Again, if the cat will look at you, if not, just visualize the kitty's eyes during this breathing exercise. Now begin to connect a cord of light with from your third eye into your cat's third eye, still holding eye contact or visualizing eye contact. From your peripheral vision, see the cat's aura expand to include your light. Place an image from your mind through the connecting cord of light into the cat's mental field. Make the image simple and direct. For example, his bowl of food or favorite toy, or your hand stroking him. Watch and see if his aura brightens, enlarges, or changes in any way. Then ask the cat to send you a picture. Once you feel that you are truly mind-linking with your cat, and this might take a while. You might just try that first part for a week till you feel you've really got some resonance there. So once you're truly mind-linking with your cat, or feel you are, ask it to join you in a voyage through the Akashic, which are the time records of the planet, either past or future. Move together out into the crystalline consciousness for a free-flow experience. So that's the end of the article, but I might also add, I'm really feeling strongly the connection with Ruta, building right now for the planet. I mean, it's coming on full force. And Ruta is able to help us because it's right there with the Eye of Ra. It's there with the tear and the place where we're needing to heal our universal holographic experience. And of course, Rutans are part of our history and our lineage, and the souls that are drawn back into Ruta, back into incarnation, back into the forms they had before, some of them into future forms. They're there to serve a planet that they existed upon, and they are part of the experience of Earth. They've never left it. So now is a time, I'm feeling, to connect to Ruta in many different ways. And one of them, if you're a cat person, this is a good way to do it. And if you don't have a cat and you love them anyway, you can go visit the kitties in the Rutan temples that are there now, including the famous Baracus. You can connect to those cats and work through them and with them, if that's your thing to do. There are other ways to work with Ruta, of course. But we're talking about the felines right now. So I'm expressing that is certainly a way to work it. In fact, even if you have cats, you can do that. You can ask your cat to help you move into that experience with the higher Rutan temple cats of the time. So there are different things you can do to access this energy, space, and the beings of that time. So this concludes my Sage Cat treatise for all of you. And thank you so much for listening.
It might seem crazy what I'm about to say. Sunshine, she's here, you can take a break. I'm a hot air balloon that could go to space. With the air, like I don't care, baby, by the way. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. happiness.